months, including their top-tier unlimited plan that normally sells for $65 a month. Think of it like a test drive, a super simple way to save $150 while you kick the tires on Pure Talk's blazing fast network, and a fine way to see for yourself why I switched from big wireless, along with a few 100,000 of my closest friends. Dial pound 250, say Mike Rowe, and be connected to Pure Talk's friendly U.S. customer service team. Again, dial pound 250, say Mike Rowe, and let the savings begin.
Joe Biden's appeal in a DOJ investigation has been rejected.
A federal appeals court has rejected a request by Joe Biden to block the release of audio recordings and transcripts of his interviews with a memoir ghostwriter before he was elected. A divided three-judge panel suspended its decision until August 3rd to allow more time for Biden to consider another appeal. The panel's 2-1 ruling found that there's a substantial public interest in disclosing the material the Democrat wants to keep hidden. The recordings were obtained by a special counsel who investigated Biden's handling of classified documents. Republicans demanded the material after the special counsel declined to file charges. Hi, Pinjwani, Washington.
ESPN is undergoing a significant round of layoffs for the first time in 3 years after taking over the NFL network in April. Some on-air personnel were affected. News and analysis at townhall.com. From Washington, I'm Keith Peters.
This program is brought to you in part by Ability Tree Experts. Ability Tree Experts, Houston's leading tree care professionals.
Call 281-441-4179.
Jim Clouk, a.k.a. Check-A-Pro Joe here. Houston's best contractors. Houston's smartest homeowners. It all starts with the Check-A-Pro radio show. Now hear my show every Saturday at 7 a.m. right here on AM 700 KSEV, the voice of Texas.
Thank goodness our weather experts are providing us with hurricane tracking charts and reminding us to be prepared for big storms. But they overlook one very important thing, the damage and destruction from broken limbs and uprooted trees. Call Louis Flory at Ability Tree Experts today, my friend for nearly 40 years, at 281-441-4179, and let him explain how this problem can be minimized with professional pruning. You see, when the tree canopy is too thick and dense, the tree can be completely blown over and tree limbs broken, causing terrible damage to the tree and maybe your home. Where tree limbs break, sap will ooze, and that attracts harmful insects. So you need to call Louis Flory today at 281-441-4179 and have his experts come out and professionally prune your trees to withstand sudden storms that are so frequent this time of year. Visit their website at abilitytrees.com. That's 281-441-4179. Ability Tree Experts, Houston's leading tree care professional.
Launch control, this is Houston. We are go for launch.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
It's ChrisX Radio. ChrisX Radio.
What we need right now is a clear message to the people of this country. This message must be read in every newspaper, heard on every radio, seen on every television. This message must resound throughout the entire interlink.
And now, your host.
I believe this is going to be our finest hour.
ChrisX.
Because it's Taco Tuesday. It's never too early or too late for tacos, I do believe. In fact, I think it's part of a well-balanced diet. Good afternoon. Welcome to ChrisX Radio. I'm the aforementioned X-Man. Glad to have you here with us as we, of course, have assumed the airwaves. Going to try to maintain control of these airwaves for the next 2 hours as we come bearing that gift beyond price that is almost free, ladies and gentlemen. We bring you the spirit of talk radio. We got a lot lined up here for your Taco Tuesday. Coming up at the bottom of the hour, we have Andy Kahn, Director of Victim Services and Advocacy at Crime Stoppers of Houston. He's been, I remember back in the day, and I'll ask Andy about this, back in the old days when he just went on the lowly ChrisX radio show and none of the other media would have him on. But he's on like KHOU Channel 11. He's on Fox 26 every week with Breaking Bond. He's hit the big time. He's on the Lieutenant Dan podcast. That's right, Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick. He's on his podcast. So I'm glad to see that everyone else has gotten the message that Andy Kahn needs to be a part of their program, which means I don't have him on as regularly as I used to. Now, I like Andy, but I've been interviewing Andy for 25 years on the radio. He's been a victim's advocate for over 30 years. Unfortunately, society has not really gotten better. It does to a certain degree, but then in other ways it has gotten a whole lot worse, especially when it comes to leniency towards criminals. These judges keep giving these stupid get-out-of-jail-free card bonds, and people keep running away. I know it's weird. You give dangerous criminals a get-out-of, a bail, a PR bond, if you will, so they don't have to really pay anything, and they just disappear. And then they set other people's... This story's not funny at all. There's a suspect that has been charged in a deadly fire of the Cypress Wood Apartments that apparently he got in an argument with his family. He set the apartment complex on fire, injured people, killed his brother. And then, according to conditions of his bond, which I don't know if he's posted it yet, he's not allowed to have a lighter or matches. Well, that'll clearly solve it. We'll talk with Andy Kahn coming up here at the bottom of the hour. So we got that going on. As I mentioned, it is Taco Tuesday. We haven't really played our taco song in a while. I think we should play it because it's just fun.
It's raining tacos. Tacos. From out of the sky.
Tacos.
No need to ask why. Just open your mouth.
I could just do the old version without the Biden and Jill clips. And Beto. Hell yes. Who knew we'd get rid of Beto and get a gay version of him? What?
Let's get some tacos.
I like this part.
As unique as the breakfast tacos here in San Antonio.
You guys remember when Dr. Jill Biden called San Antonians breakfast tacos? Well, Hispanics.
Cheese. It's raining tacos.
Let's get some tacos.
If it really rained tacos, would you stand outside with your mouth open? I might. In Quadway. Now, I don't want to beat up Transloaf too bad, but I think Transloaf has had some tacos.
I ran for office several times. Didn't win, but he did run. And then
he sounds like a sweet guy.
I'm a songwriter, and then I write my own books.
Wait, he's a songwriter. Did he write Meatloaf songs? The dude looks just like Meatloaf, but he's Transloaf. So he's a songwriter, and he's written books, and he's ran for office, and he didn't win. And I don't think he's going to win this time either. So there you have it. All right, welcome to the program. Glad to have you here on your Taco Tuesday edition. It is, it's all-out war, apparently, with Iran, as the Iranian president says the country is at full-scale war with the United States. Were they ever really not at war with us since we invaded them? I mean, I think, you know what, in all fairness, we did invade their country. We did bomb them. Now, sure, they wanted us dead and they wanted Israel wiped off the map. Yeah, there's that. And they were working towards getting a nuclear weapon in order to bomb us and get rid of us and knock us off the map. So there is that. But now they're at war with us. Full-scale war. Wonder how long this will last. I guess we shall see. The testimony is underway in the preliminary hearing for singer DV4D that he murdered a 14-year-old girl. So he's a sort of wannabe rapper, but I think he is a rapper, and he was messing around with a 14-year-old girl, which means he had sex with her and then decided he wanted to shut her up, so he murdered her and left her in a car, a Tesla. So there's that. Okay, so anyway, that was going on. Also, the top media networks have now been put on notice after refusing to air Donald Trump's primetime address last week. He is the president. Representative Buddy Carter, a Republican out of Georgia, is asking the FCC to review ABC, NBC, CBS, and their broadcast decisions for their networks to not air or decline to air or cut away from President Trump's July 16th primetime address. So we'll get on to that as well. I mean, I don't know why anyone would ever say that they're nothing more than leftist propaganda. I mean, we all heard this after 2020, right?
2020 election, the most secure in American history.
Most secure election in American history.
The most secure in American history.
Most secure election in American history.
Most secure election in American history.
The most secure in American history.
Most secure election in American history.
The safest, the most secure election we've ever seen. Cleanest election, the safest election, the most secure election, number one.
Most secure election in American history.
The most secure election in American history.
The most secure in history.
What's the most secure election ever?
The most secure election in American history.
Let's just be clear, this is the most secure election in American history.
The most secure in U.S. history.
This, in fact, was the most secure election yet.
This was the most secure election in history.
The most secure or the most secure election in American history.
The most secure election in history. Most secure election
Don't
in
worry, we're about halfway
American
through.
history.
Most secure election in our history.
Safest and most secure election in our history.
Safest, most secure election we have ever had.
The most secure in American history.
The most
I
secure
wonder if it was
election in
secure.
American history.
Most secure election in American history.
Most secure election in American history.
The most secure election in American history.
The most secure election that we've had.
The safest, most secure elections in American history.
It was the most secure election in the history of the country. The most secure in our history.
Most secure
election of our
lifetime.
The most secure election ever, the 2020 election.
The safest, most secure election in recent history.
Wow.
Can you honestly tell me in all the states that no ballots from people that are already deceased were not filled out and sent in?
This was the most secure election in American history.
You know how you know it wasn't the most secure election in American history? Is the lamestream media told you constantly it was the safest and most secure election in American history. Over and over and over it. And anyone who dared question it was called a conspiracy theorist. Some were thrown in jail. Some were, thrown in jail. You say, Catherine Engelbrecht, Scott Phillips, remember them? They actually provided data, geolocation data from cell phones that showed that it wasn't. And no. They got thrown in jail. Why? Why did they get thrown in jail? Well, just for the midterms to make sure they weren't allowed to do it again. To expose the cheating machines that goes on in our country. That the Democrats are lockstep against making sure we do anything to address it. It's funny because when Donald Trump won in 2016, the Democrats were all saying the Russians did it. There was meddling in our election. That's the only way Donald Trump was an illegitimate president. They said it over and over and over again. And then in 2020, it was the most secure, safest election. It's almost as though they're nothing but left-wing propaganda. But then again, they're nothing but left-wing propaganda. All right, so James Talarico tries and fails pandering to black voters. He did this, some sort of town event, some kind of event that was catering to people of color, which was not just black people, but people of color, because white people only have white color, but everybody else has color. And boy, he got lit up by at least one lady in the audience. Imagine you've probably heard the audio. I don't really need to play that for you. I generally am not a fan of people interrupting, politicians or people when they speak. But when you got this phony dude up there trying to parade as a moderate, trying to speak to his neighbors with a uterus, I guess, or it just goes on and on and on. I mean, we could play the Talarico greatest hits, but his non-binary God or his trans children, and he loves the trans children. He fanboys over the trans podcast host. Well, he's made one large mistake being a Democrat candidate. Unfortunately for him, they sort of made sure they stacked the deck against Jasmine Crockett. and Sister Girl was having none of it. In fact, she's still having none of it, and unfortunately, that's not really helping Mr. Talarico in the black community. Even now, our own homegirl, Yolanda Jones, Democrat right here in Texas, she revealed the Talarico campaign is giving out money to White Go TV. These organizations and white infrastructure and Hispanic infrastructure, but he's not giving it to black infrastructure. The Democrat Party is, well, as much money is going to pour into his campaign, they're in the midst of a civil war on their own. Because Jasmine is not getting out on the campaign trail for James Talarico. I love the trans children. And obviously, Yolanda Jones is not getting out on board. And this woman at the town hall was not. She said, you don't come out here and do this and then take off and don't answer any questions. And he tried to have a conversation. Spoiler alert, it didn't go well. So we'll get into that today. Tropical Storm Bertha has formed in the Eastern Gulf last night. It's forecasted to slowly push closer to Louisiana with potential landfall there late Wednesday. It's going to head this direction, but it doesn't look like it's going to hit us really. They're saying chances are we may get a couple of showers, but that's probably it. There's no rain really expected. All we're looking at is a couple of days of serious heat over the next couple of days, Wednesday and Thursday. It's going to be hot here in Houston, so they want people to stay well hydrated and take frequent breaks if you're going to be outside. But it looks like small chance of storms, but peak temperatures around 104 degrees in the Houston area. There is a chance of scattered tropical downpours Thursday or Friday from whatever remains of Bertha, but it doesn't look like it's going to be an issue for us. For all of you that stocked up on toilet paper this time, just hang on to it. Trust me, you'll need it. And then you can get to it later. President Trump has imposed a 50% duty on a variety of Canadian goods, including alcohol, dairy products, hockey sticks, and many others. We can talk about that. It was right after he met with the new guy. So we can get into that as well. Let's go ahead and take a break. You're listening to ChrisXradio. We're just getting started. We'll hit on a couple of things, and then we'll pick up with our guest, Andy Kahan. He is the Director of Victim Services and Advocacy at Crime Stoppers of Houston. I always enjoy my conversations with Andy Kahan. He's a great guy. He's one of the few people in the country that works on behalf of victims, the only unwilling participant in crime. They get such little help from everybody, and that includes the entirety of the Democrat Party. The entirety of the Democrat Party, they seem to hate victims. How dare you come forward and talk about your rights being violated? How dare you do this? We're going to bend over and stack the deck. Well, we're going to bend you over and stack the deck against you. It's very sad. We're really at a sad time. All right, 281-558 KSEV. I'm ChrisX. We'll be right back.
KSEV, 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 KSEV.
Everyone knows the BBB is the Better Business Bureau, but depending on what you need, it's the Better Plumber Bureau, the Better Auto Mechanic Bureau, the Better Accountant Bureau. That's because the BBB connects people with businesses they can trust. So think of the BBB as the better check that business out first so you don't get ripped off bureau. Be smart. Always look for the BBB seal because it's looking out for you. And find a better business anytime at bbb.org.
Plumbing emergencies never happen at a convenient time. Nix Plumbing offers free estimates and free second opinions. Call Nix Plumbing and Sewer Services, 713-868-9907, or visit us on the web, nixplumbing.com.
MPL 38548.
A breast cancer diagnosis can turn your world upside down. But your Houston Methodist team assures you they'll use the latest cancer research and technologies, collaborating to treat and remove the tumor and reconstruct your breasts, restoring symmetry, sensation, and your sense of self. That's the difference between practicing medicine and leading it for you. Houston Methodist, leading medicine.
I started my first business when I was 12, mowing lawns for about $5 a yard. I learned if you do the job right, people trust you and customers care that you show up and do what you say you're going to do. Hi, I'm Tommy Mello, owner of Garage Door Doctor. From garage door repairs to upgrades, we show up, we stand behind every job. We only use the best parts, and spring's guaranteed to last a lifetime. When you care about the people you serve, you work harder and it shows. Call Garage Door Doctor today or schedule online at garagedoordoctor.biz.
Garage Door Doctor.
Do you need money? Want to lower your monthly debt? Are you thinking about a cash-out refinance? Hi, it's Kathy from Baker Mortgage. A cash-out refinance can get you back in your comfort zone, and that's what it's all about. A recent client who closed with us had his payment go up about $300, but his monthly outgo was being reduced by $1,200, so giving him a net positive cash flow of $900. It's not about adding debt, but restructuring it in a way that makes sense. And this math totally makes sense. And please don't sweat it if your interest rate is going up a little or if you're extending the term. I can show you by taking a small amount of what you're saving monthly and applying it towards your mortgage, you're going to pay it off just as quickly and you'll be way ahead in the money game, which is where we all want to be, right? Remember, we want to help you, but we're not going to help you over a cliff. Baker Mortgage, 281-313-MOVE, or go directly to bakermortgage.com.
Equal housing lender, license number 263213.
Does your company have a cybersecurity rider? Are you compliant with its terms? If you are not sure, call Tactical Cyber Services for a free consultation. 713-229-0030 or go online at tacticalcyberservices.com.
Welcome back to ChrisXradio. I'm the aforementioned X-Man. Glad to have you here with us as we're rocking your Taco Tuesday edition of the program. Does everybody eat tacos on Taco Tuesday? You know what? I don't really eat tacos very often. But it doesn't mean I won't have Tex-Mex. Might go get some fajitas or maybe even a burrito. I like Chuy's, man. Chuy's has those big, huge burritos. They put queso all over it. It's kind of like full meal in one little just thing. Problem is that, man, the something the European mind can't comprehend is the free refills. If you go to just about anywhere, the drinks, but also the free refills of chips and salsa. Where if you go to Chuy's, they have the creamy jalapeno sauce. Oh my God, that is so good. I like the what is it? Of course, the salsa they use at Gringos is good as well. But they're just blown away. They're like, wait, you've already brought us these chips and this salsa, and then you keep refilling our drinks, and you're not charging us extra. What is going on? America is the greatest country that ever existed. But the Democrats, they just hate it. They're too busy. I'm a she! Melting down. Trans people melting down over being misgendered because they were properly gendered by the police that were called on them for melting down. Because you saw a dude that looks like Meatloaf and you called him a dude. Now, the guy for the Transloaf guy running for Maine Democrat primary, that guy, he actually seems like a sweet guy. But the one melting down that went viral on social media, oh dear Lord, he wasn't a sweet guy. He was very angry. And he was so mad when the cop was calling in backup and referred to him as a he. It's a she! This reminds me of remember the guy melting down in the store? He looked about 6'5". He's a big blonde-haired dude. He was clearly a dude. And the guy behind him in line kept calling him sir. It's ma'am. I'm a ma'am. If you get that mad over whatever someone calls you, it's your problem, not society's. I literally was on the phone years ago, and it was somebody about customer service, and the person, it was a woman on the phone, I believe. A woman on the phone who kept saying, ma'am or sir, whatever the case may be, because she couldn't determine my voice, whether I was a male or not. And when you're calling for customer service and you get that over and over again, it's kind of funny. I was angry because I wanted, whatever I don't even remember what it was now. But just, I'm sorry, ma'am or sir, whatever the case may be. And after about the 5th time, I was like, are you doing this on purpose? And I never once did I go, I'm a ma'am, because I'm a ma'am. A ma'am. Never did it. Nor did I say, was I a sir. I just let the person keep saying it because I didn't want them to know at that point. I guess they weren't misgendering me. They were making sure I was covered, whatever the case may be. I wonder if that's acceptable terminology now. Anyway, by the way, coming up here in the next segment, we're going to catch up with Andy Kahn. He's the Director of Victim Services and Advocacy at Crime Stoppers Houston. There's more lunacy, I guess, taking place here in Harris County and Houston with the judicial system that seems to be about everything other than justice. It doesn't make any sense anymore. Look, the people already hung up on us before we even get the caller on the line. Well, look at that. Is that the tone of all the listeners of the program? ChrisX sucks. Click. Oh, there you go. But by the way, very quickly here before we take a break, and then we'll catch up with our guest. Tropical Storm Bertha formed yesterday in the Gulf of America. It's going to hit, landfall will be in Louisiana tomorrow, but eventually it's going to head sort of our direction, they keep saying. That's where the maps, I guess, or the computer advisory keeps sending them. But that's going to be like Thursday or Friday. But until then, we've got really hot days that are saying that we're going to use the maximum we've ever used, the most. We're going to break the record on the grid. So everyone's saying, oh, my God, grid issues. And then they said, but the grid seems to have plenty of capacity. We're going to be fine because of the upgrades they did. So watch for grid freaker outers coming up here very soon. But we'll see. The grid should have the capacity, should handle it. Reminds me I need to get a battery system. Still need to go do that. Well, like I said, I've got months to go. So hopefully by next year I'll have my battery back up. But once again, I don't think the grid's going to fail. It's just getting above 100 degrees here in July in Texas. If that's a surprise to anyone, then we got bigger problems in the state of Texas. All right, let's take a break. We'll come back, catch up with our guest, Andy Kahn. He'll join us. We got a couple of, crazy stories. I know he's got a lot more than two. But we'll try to focus on two. And then, of course, his appearance on the Lieutenant Dan podcast. Glad to see the Lieutenant Governor is taking crime seriously, because the entirety of the Democrat Party is not. They're not even remotely concerned. In fact, they want to help criminals commit more crimes. That seems to be the case with judges and magistrates here in Harris County, too. When the Democrats took over, it didn't get better. All right, you're listening to ChrisX Radio. We'll be right back. We have Andy Kahn from Crime Stoppers Houston joining us next.
KSEV, 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 KSEV.
This is Kevin O'Hara with O'Hara & Company Real Estate in O'Hara Homes. I'm going to drop some truth bombs that I believe. We're in a global war against evil. Donald Trump is a wartime president. COVID-19 was not the bioweapon the jab was. A surgical mask will not prevent you from getting a virus. The 2020 election was rigged. If you're watching mainstream media, you're being lied to. The elites of this world have been running the largest human trafficking and pedophile ring. The Ukraine is a deep state stronghold. God is real and created two genders, male and female, and Jesus died for our sins. If you're not awake yet, you better wake up. If you want a real estate company that'll give you the truth, give O'Hara & Company Real Estate a call at 281-373-3393 or look us up on the web at o'harare.com. If you're looking for a contractor, call O'Hara Homes at the same number, 281-373-3393. God wins this war. Nothing can stop what is coming. Where we go one, we go all. God bless America and God bless Texas.
Thank goodness our weather experts are providing us with hurricane tracking charts and reminding us to be prepared for big storms. But they overlook one very important thing, the damage and destruction from broken limbs and uprooted trees. Call Louis Flory at Ability Tree Experts today. my friend for nearly 40 years. At 281-441-4179, and let him explain how this problem can be minimized with professional pruning. You see, when the tree canopy is too thick and dense, the tree can be completely blown over and tree limbs broken, causing terrible damage to the tree and maybe your home. Where tree limbs break, sap will ooze, and that attracts harmful insects. So you need to call Louis Flory today at 281-441-4179 and have his experts come out and professionally prune your trees to withstand sudden storms that are so frequent this time of year. Visit their website at abilitytrees.com. That's 281-441-4179. Ability Tree Experts, Houston's leading tree care professional.
What if you could invest in real estate for pennies on the dollar? Find out how this Saturday at 2 p.m. on the Check Pro Radio Show, when tax lien certificate expert Ted Thomas reveals one of America's best-kept investment secrets. Tune in this Saturday at 2 p.m.
If you're looking to buy or sell a home and in need of the best realtors out there, look no further than the Ronnie and Kathy Matthews Group. They've instilled in each and every member of their team hard work and honest values, and believe me, it's paid off. They truly know the Houston market and what it takes to get a home sold quickly and at top dollar, and how to get the best deal possible for your home purchase. They're employee-owned. They care about their clients, so they always go the extra mile to ensure each sale and purchase is seamless and smooth. The Ronnie and Kathy Matthews Group have been a top-producing real estate team for over 2 decades. Call Ronnie and Kathy Matthews Group at 281-440-7900 or see for yourself and go online at thematthewsteam.com. That's thematthewsteam.com. They sell over 1,000 homes a year, and they know every inch of the buying and selling market in Houston. Call Ronnie and Kathy Matthews Group. I chose them as my realtor. The Ronnie and Kathy Matthews Group, your realtors for life. 281-440-7900 or see for yourself online at thematthewsteam.com. That's thematthewsteam.com.
That's the Ronnie and Kathy Matthews Group, brokered by EXP.
KSEV, 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 KSEV.
Welcome back to ChrisX Radio. It is time to catch up with our guest. Andy Kahn joins us now. Once again, he's the director of victim services and advocacy at Crime Stoppers of Houston. It is always good to have Andy on the program. Andy, thanks for being here. Good to catch up with you again.
You bet. My pleasure, Chris. Tell me what's going on in the world.
Well, there's a lot going on. I remember the old days. We'll just step back a few years. Back when the only program that was having poor lowly Andy Kahn on was ChrisXradio here on 700 AM KSEV. And those days have changed dramatically and crazily, because now not only are you being picked up every week on Fox 26 with your Breaking Bond segments, you're going on the other news outlets. Even the Lieutenant Governor with the Lieutenant Dan's podcast has been smart enough to have you on and get your expertise regarding crime, because there's really not a better source of information regarding the insanity that is the crime situation, not only in the world, but here in Harris County especially. And there's a story, I saw you post about it earlier today on social media. This guy set a fire over at the Cyberswood Apartments and ended up killing his brother and wounding some other people. It was a terrible situation. Now, conditions of his bond apparently are he's not allowed to have a lighter or matches. Andy, is this a real story?
It is, but let me tell you, Chris, you have a 3-year-old little boy that has 95% burns and is now in Shriners Hospital as a result of what this defendant did. I'm not going to use the word allegedly because he did this. That is absolutely horrific, the carnage that one person could cause. And in April of 26, he picked up 5 charges in Jasper County. He led authorities, law enforcement, on a 4-county chase through 4 different counties, and then he turned and he rammed his car into a police vehicle, and he ends up getting charged with aggravated assault on a police officer, auto theft, evading arrest, deadly conduct, and unlawfully carrying a weapon. So that's 5 charges. On those 5 charges, he was giving a total bond of $100,000, which he posted in Jasper County in May. So he's now out on 5 bonds since May, back in Harris County. Now he's charged with murder, arson, and I truly hope there's a reason we have the death penalty in the state of Texas, and Matthew Atwater just jumped to the top of the list for me.
You know, Andy, the story, as you have dug into it, turns out this isn't a one-time offender. This is a guy that should have been locked up, which is something that you deal with on a, unfortunately, far too often basis. But this guy, this Matthew Atwater guy, apparently got in some sort of argument with his family. So then he started, well, I guess his brother and his mom, I guess. So then he left and came back and then set the apartment complex. It was the Cypresswood Apartments over there at, I guess, Cypresswood near Kirkendall, and set him on fire around, I guess it was around 1:30 a.m. in the morning. It ended up killing his brother and seriously wounding this child. And the judge somehow still decided, after the other 5 bond violations, they decided to offer this guy bond as well. And did he get a PR bond, or at least you said $100,000? What's his bond?
Well, basically the magistrate, had to put some sort of bond, because right now the district attorney's office, and rightfully so, has requested a no bond hearing. But until then, you had to put down on paper. So I just thought it was just comically funny. I've seen a lot of strange bond conditions, but to put a condition on someone that, let's just hypothetically say, if he was ever to be released, which really he's not going to get on bond, that he can't have matches or lighters or any pyro equipment. I just literally burst out laughing and go, how are you going to enforce that? What is there, some sort of secret match police that goes around checking to see if people are on bond who aren't supposed to have matches or lighters? I just, sometimes you got to laugh at the absurdity of the whole situation, and this certainly was one of the cases for that. You know what I do hope, Chris? And again, assuming he is convicted of this offense, looking at a potential death penalty, life without parole, whenever he's convicted of either of those sentences, I would hope that the judge would stipulate pictures of this 3-year-old boy in Shriners Hospital to be plastered all over his prison cell for the rest of his life. So that's what he sees every single minute.
This is the perspective, and I know you've developed a bit of a dark sense of humor, because you almost have to have one with the things that you have dealt with over the 30-plus years. You've been a victim's advocate, not only for the city of Houston, but now with Crime Stoppers of Houston. So it's, you kind of have to, some of these things you literally have to laugh at, and it's utterly ludicrous to believe that if this guy somehow was able to obtain bond, would be precluded from getting a lighter or matches. Like, they're going to check his ID and go, nope, sorry, we're not going to give you that. So that is the insanity that has become our justice system, that we have dealt with for, well, I say we, as citizens, we have to deal with this, but you deal with it with a far more personal basis by working on behalf of these victims and these family members. And I wish the same. I wish they could do that, force this guy to have to look at what he did to this child. But these people that commit these crimes, and far too often, they don't seem to have a conscience. They don't seem to care about anyone, even themselves, maybe to a certain degree. The guy killed his own brother over an argument. I guess my assumption is the guy died in the fire. I guess his mother and others were able to escape, but not everybody was, because he set this place on fire. This also ties in with another story that I saw you were on Newsmax, where there were 3 others, and at least 2 of them, if not all 3, had tried to had set fires as well, and then were just
that's a good point. Yeah, that's a good correlation. So I've been monitoring defendants who were declared incompetent to stand trial by a court. Then they go to a mental state hospital, and in these 3 cases, they were miraculously restored to competency in less than a year. So, God, their staff must be really good. And then they returned them back to Harris County, and instead of keeping them in jail pending disposition of the trial, they're released on a personal recognizance, PR, get-out-of-jail-free card, and they're told to go live in this assisted living facility, a residential home in the middle of a neighborhood, basically acting as a quasi-halfway house, only there's very few restrictions, and the neighbors are not privy what they have living in their community. So all three of them showed up there, and within a matter of weeks, all three of them opened the door and basically said, sayonara, I'm out of here. And they've been wanted fugitives ever since then, which means that Crime Stoppers has to put an up to a $5,000 reward on these three individuals. This is not an anomaly, Chris. I've been monitoring, watching this for years. Probably your listeners might remember what happened to 80-year-old grandmother Rosalie Cook back in 2020 when she was walking out of Walgreens in Meyerland on a Saturday morning, and she stumbled into a guy named Randy Lewis, who had had over 60 arrests just in Harris County, and he too was declared incompetent, restored to competency, told to go live in one of these homes. He did for a day, walked out. No one saw him for 2 weeks. Nobody reported it. There were no warrants, nobody looking for him. And then he tried to carjack Rosalie in a parking lot and stabbed her to death. This is happening more often than you want to believe.
You know, I remember us talking about that particular case because it was very high profile with what happened, and people were shocked that these kind of people are being let out or going to, you know, they're mentally incompetent to stand trial, and then they go to these facilities and then they're declared competent in a very short amount of time. And then, as you mentioned, these other three people, was it all of them that had tried to set, or that had set fires, I guess? One of them tried to burn down, I guess, his ex-girlfriend's home or something like this. Did they all set fires, or were they all just basically somehow miraculously cured of their incompetency to go just disappear into society?
You know, two out of the three were charged with arson, and one of them was actually observed by a fire captain on the Houston Fire Department lighting fires to trees and bushes within 100 feet of a residential neighborhood, and basically described him as a pyromaniac and a significant threat to public safety, because if he wasn't there to observe it, those fires could have easily spread out of control into residential homes. The other one was an aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, in which he threatened a female who wouldn't comply with his sexual demands, and he threatened to cut her with a knife.
God, these are really upstanding citizens.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, you know, either our mental facilities must be getting really good, because these guys were miraculously cured and deemed competent to stand trial. I mean, you really can't script this. And the amount of these homes in residential communities, and most of these are in unincorporated Harris County, have more than doubled in the last 2 years. So there could be a home in your neighborhood. And one of the stories that we did on Breaking Bond a couple of years ago, you know, we went to one of the homes, and neighbors were telling us, you know, we've seen people just coming and going at all hours of the night, people walking down the streets going. We had no idea that the individuals that were residing there were court-ordered to be there.
We're talking with Andy Kahn, the Director of Victim Services and Advocacy at Crime Stoppers of Houston. You mentioned Crime Stoppers paying out these, in fact, like I said, something that we had never seen before, I guess, is a recent trend in the last, 5, 6, 7, 8 years or so, is the fact that you sometimes are paying out multiple rewards for the same person who keeps getting let out. People need to know that Crime Stoppers is a 501c3, a nonprofit, and they work on your donations. So those who want to go and check out Crime Stoppers, make sure they're one of the great organizations. And of course, they've employed Andy as their director. Else in the city of Houston. From what I can tell, there's probably nobody else within Harris County or even in the state of Texas working on behalf of victims such as you do, and you've been doing this for over 30 years. Andy, I know I asked you this last time. You seem to be more positive. You said things seem to be getting better. I don't know if they're getting better or just getting different.
That's a good combination, Chris. I mean, I have seen things getting better down at the courthouse. I've seen our district attorney use Prop 3, the constitutional amendment, which we passed to give judges discretion not to grant bond to defendants charged with certain violent crimes. I've seen them use it religiously, and most of the time when they're requesting it, the courts are agreeing and they're putting no bond. So that's a positive sign, because of the legislation that we had to pass going back to 2021 has made a significant improvement and difference. But then you come up with some of these, cases that we see right here. Now, keep in mind the one that's charged with the murder and arson, those 5 bonds came out of Jasper County. And why Jasper County saw fit to give him 5 bonds for $100,000 when he was clearly a threat to public safety, that's something for the authorities to answer over there. But I have seen improvement, but we can continue to see improvement, and that's why we're gearing up again for another legislative session to see whatever we can craft to enhance public safety and victims' rights. And if you do want to support Crime Stoppers, as you said, we are a 501c3 nonprofit. Go to our website. You can donate. If you want to attend our big gala in October as our big fundraiser, you're more than welcome to join us and join so many others that are public safety advocates.
Yeah, like I said, I've always encouraged people to make sure you're paying attention, for one, and donating to Crime Stoppers, doing what you can to help out, because once again, you guys, that's how you operate, and we want to make sure that we're staying out there, because you've gotten, I don't know, well, Crime Stoppers, and of course you along with them have gotten so many of these dangerous people off the streets. One of the things that I started off with, back in the old days, there were very few outlets that were reaching out and having you on their programs. That doesn't seem to be the case anymore. I know you do your Breaking Bond pretty much every week, still going strong after how many years? You get on some of the other networks. 6 years. And then, of course, you go on the other networks as well. But also, as mentioned, you're on the Lieutenant Patrick, Dan Patrick, his new podcast, the Lieutenant Dan podcast. What did you and the Lieutenant Governor talk about? Why did he have you on his podcast?
Yeah, Chris, it was great spending time with Dan. Dan and I go way back. Will age myself back to 1994. And when Dan was running and having his own talk show on KSEV, we actually formed what was called the Houston Crime Commission. And we highlighted certain cases. We did some fundraising, and eventually we merged that into the organization of Justice for All. So Dan and I have, a 3-decade record of talking about crime and passing legislation. So it was great spending time with Dan. We talked about some of the positive things that we've seen come out of the Capitol as well. And then we talked about some of the issues that we still need to face, and particularly individuals who are on probation and who are violating probation and getting convicted of other offenses while on probation, and yet are still allowed to be on probation, which is beyond my comprehension, and then committing brutal, heinous crimes, which we saw last month in the death of a 56-year-old father named Luis Uribe, whose son's truck was carjacked, and then his son called him, and he came out and tracked the truck down and ended up getting shot and killed in a shootout with an individual that'd been to prison multiple times, yet still was given probation. And then while on probation, you get this, he crosses state lines, goes to Louisiana, an obvious violation of probation, and he's charged with 4 felonies in Louisiana. One of them was trying to deliver drugs to a federal correctional facility. You would think that would be enough to revoke your probation, right? Wrong.
Well, in the old days, maybe.
So they dismiss the motion to revoke probation. They allow him to remain on probation. Then he gets convicted of the offense in Louisiana. So now Louisiana gives him another probation. So now he's on probation in 2 different states, which again, why bother having probation conditions if you're not gonna violate someone who got a new conviction? Now he's charged with murder. Never ever should have happened.
No, it's like I said, and you've seen this far too many times over the your duration here as a director of victim services and advocacy over at Crime Stoppers of Houston, and even by the way back when you used to work for the city of Houston. Andy, as always, thanks for coming on the program. I always appreciate having you here on the program. I love what you're doing with Breaking Bond, and of course what you do up at the state capitol, working on new legislation, trying to protect people from these dangerous animals that unfortunately are released far too often. Thanks for your time today. I look forward to talking to you again very soon.
All right, take care, bud. Bye.
All right, take care, Andy. Once again, Andy Kahan, he is the Director of Victim Services and Advocacy at Crime Stoppers of Houston, a 501c3. Andy mentioned the website. You can look it up and find it easily, Crime Stoppers of Houston. And once again, they work on your donations. And I know we don't often say that nearly enough. I want to make sure that we remind people. And then they have their big event coming up in October. And like I said, you can get involved that way. They've got their Dave Ward. Dave Ward was a big advocate for Crime Stoppers. And, yeah, like I said, now I'm kind of jealous. I thought I'd been interviewing Andy for 20 years. I thought I had the seniority. Turns out the lieutenant governor has me smoked by about probably, 5-10 years with his relationship with Andy Kahn. And now you understand why he got elected to the state senate and then eventually lieutenant governor, because he's been focusing on things like this. If you want to catch Andy on the Lieutenant Governor's podcast, it's the Lieutenant Dan podcast, and it's Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick along with Andy Kahn. That's a good one to go check out, and he's interviewed Ken Paxton and others. So the guys have got an extensive broadcast history. They're done pretty well. All right, good to catch up with Andy Kahn. All right, let's take a very short break. We'll come back, wrap up this first hour, get you locked and loaded for hour number 2. You're listening to ChrisXradio. Don't you go anywhere. 281-558-KSEV, 281-558-5738. We'll be right back to wrap up today, the first hour and get you loaded for hour number 2.
Offices located 1 Sugar Creek Center, Sugar Land, Texas.
Thinking of buying a home? It's important to start off with a solid pre-approval. Hi, I'm Kathy Baker from Baker Mortgage. Yes, we ask a lot of questions, but that's because we're not going to give you a pre-approval that's going to blow up as you're trying to cross the finish line. What's figured in there for property taxes? If it didn't come up, you really don't know what you're pre-approved for. That should make you wonder what else they may have left out. At Baker Mortgage, we get it right. We haven't been around for 60 years because we're lucky. Yes, we have wholesale rates, 80-10-10s, and all kinds of programs, but in the end, it's really about taking good care of people, and they continue to come back and send their kids, their friends, and sometimes their parents. Whether you're buying, building, or refinancing, call us at Baker Mortgage. We're at 281-313-6683. That's 281-313-MOVE or directly at bakermortgage.com.
Equal housing lender. License 263213.
Plumbing emergencies never happen at a convenient time. Usually they happen on the weekends, holidays, or while you're away on vacation. I'm Richard Sod, president of Nick's Plumbing. When you find yourself facing a plumbing emergency, call the licensed and experienced professionals at Nick's Plumbing and Sewer Services. Nick's Plumbing has been Houston's first choice for all your plumbing needs since 1979. Our experts can take your most difficult plumbing issues and fix them fast, fix them right, and usually for less than you'd expect. Nick's Plumbing and Sewer Services is the right choice for any plumbing job, from a leaky faucet, whole house repipe, or a complete sewer line replacement. You can count on Nick's Plumbing to do the job right. With over 40 years in business and over 150,000 satisfied customers, Nick's wants to be your plumbing company. Nick's Plumbing offers free estimates and free second opinions. Call Nick's Plumbing and Sewer Services, 713-868-9907, or visit us on the web, nicksplumbing.com.
MPL 38548.
Call Nick's Plumbing today. We're on the way.
This is Kevin O'Hara with O'Hara & Company Real Estate. Our country's founding fathers drafted a document that is the Declaration of Independence. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. To secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their powers from the consent of the governed. My friends at O'Hara & Company Real Estate, we believe we're at a precipice in time where we must take back our country. We must stand up for our freedoms or lose them forever. Please don't sit idle and let it slip away. Don't let anyone force you to do something you choose not to. As JFK said, if not us, who? If not now, when? If you're looking to buy or sell real estate, give O'Hara & Company Real Estate a call at 281-373-3393, 281-373-3393, or look us up on the web at o'harare.com. I'm Kevin O'Hara. God bless America, and God bless Texas.
Welcome back to ChrisXradio. I'm the aforementioned X-Man. Glad to have you here as we are wrapping up the first hour of the program. This is the final segment of the first hour. We'll get you locked and loaded for hour number 2. If you want to get in line for the second hour of the program, 281-558 KSEV is the number, 281-558-5738. I want to thank Andy Kahn once again, Director of Victim Services and Advocacy at Crime Stoppers of Houston. The guy's been at this for a long time. It was weird. I had dinner with Andy probably about 5-6 years ago. And maybe longer. Well, no, I'm about 8 years ago now. My Lord, time flies. And one of the things we talked about was like, I figured at a certain point we would, hopefully as society evolved, that we would no longer need someone like Andy Kahn, right? The fact is we need Andy Kahn as much, if not more, than we've ever needed Andy because of the way things have gone with these magistrates and these judges and the insanity that is the justice system now in our country. People like the Zohran Mamdani in New York, they side with the criminals. They side with the terrorists. And they just keep letting these dirtbags out to go on and commit more crimes, and people are dying because of it. I can't tell you how furious I would be if one of my family members or someone that I knew really well was killed by one of these dirtbags. Somebody that should have been locked up behind bars but is continually let out by dirtbags who have no vested interest in these people or in the community in which they allow these people to be released into. They claim this is progress, but it's not. It is actually regress. It is anything but progress. But that is how the leftist mind operates. That is how the Democrat mind operates. We shall lower the bar and treat everyone as criminals. We'll treat the law-abiding citizens as criminals and really throw the book at them. But, these criminals that continually go and do things over and over and over again, well, we'll let them go. The dangerous people. It's insane. Anyway, that's why I'm a big fan of Crime Stoppers of Houston. Been a fan of them since the 80s. My brother was $1,000 at one point. There was a dude that got out of prison in Austin. He was from the Houston area. He came back and was attacking young girls. And my brother was like, man, this sure sounds like so-and-so. I won't say his name because he has since died behind bars. But he got out, came back to Houston, was attacking young girls, attacking classmates. I was, classmates. I went to Kingwood High School, and he attacked a few girls that went to Kingwood High School. And sure enough, we figured it out. He went and reported them. And they ended up leading to an arrest, and they ended up giving him, I think it was $1,000. I don't remember what it was. So I've got a long history with Crime Stoppers of Houston. All right, let's take a break. We'll be back. Hour number 2 is up next. Don't you go anywhere. We'll be right back.
AM 700 KSEV, Tomball, Houston, and streaming online at ksevradio.com, the voice of Texas.
News this hour from Town Hall. I'm Keith Peters in Washington. Warnings are up along the Gulf Coast for Tropical Storm Bertha.
Tropical Storm Bertha in the Gulf of Mexico is moving towards the Florida Panhandle and Alabama. Miami-based National Hurricane Center says that as of early Tuesday, the storm was about 125 miles south of Panama City, Florida, and 200 miles southeast of Mobile, Alabama. Philippe Papin is a senior hurricane specialist with the center.
The current forecast basically shows it approaching and then moving inland kind of right along the Louisiana coastline here in about 36 to 48 hours. So we're talking basically Wednesday evening into Thursday morning. And then the track takes it basically right along the Gulf Coast.
Areas of flash flooding will also be possible through Friday. I'm Hayap Njwani.
Arizona Republicans pick nominees today for governor and other top offices.
Arizona Republicans are choosing nominees to challenge Democrats in key state offices. Candidates include U.S. Reps Andy Biggs and David Schweikart, who are vying to take on Democratic Governor Katie Hobbs. Biggs is endorsed by President Trump and aims to unite the party. Schweikart believes his pro-business approach can win back voters. Both parties have contested primaries for Schweikart's current House district, a battleground for congressional control. The Democratic Party backed Marlene Galan Woods, while Trump has endorsed former Cardinals kicker Jay Feely. Republicans are also picking nominees for Secretary of State and Attorney General. I'm Julie Walker.
The U.S. military has identified a soldier killed while disarming an Iranian drone in Iraq. as Sergeant Michael Emmanuel Swinton from North Carolina. On Wall Street, the Dow Jones Industrial Average up by 385 points. The Nasdaq rose 329. The S&P 500 advanced 65. Oil near $85 a barrel. More at townhall.com.
Progressive presents Perfectly Bad Excuses for Missing Stuff to Spend More Time on Your Motorcycle.
Hey, Tom. Gonna miss the 5K. Gotta organize my vitamins. A, B, C. There's so many. D.
Now that was a bad excuse. If you love your vehicle this much, get customized coverage from Progressive, America's #1 motorcycle insurer. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, not available in D.C.
In the military, the mission was clear. You knew what to do. Now, the mission has changed. Stepping into civilian life isn't about finding a job. It's finding your purpose.
I wanted a career that would leverage the skills and discipline I gained in the military. IT just felt right.
My Computer Career offers class schedules that fit into your life and skills in high demand. Put your VA benefits to work. Visit mycomputercareer.edu/CWP to jumpstart your IT career today. An elite CompTIA certification partner. Financial aid is available to those who qualify, including VA benefits.
This True Sand commentary is brought to you by Ability Tree Experts. Ability Tree Experts, Houston's leading tree care professionals. Call 281-441-4179.
From KSEV, here's political contributor Ben Strusand.
Most polling shows that Republicans are going to have a tough time winning majorities in both houses of Congress in November. Voters blame Trump for inflation and believe that many of the necessities they need to purchase have become unaffordable. 2 out of 3 voters don't believe that preventing Iran from building a nuclear weapon is worth the higher gas prices that they are paying. Voters never give a president credit for preventing bad things like a nuclear war from happening. President Trump should realize by now that the Islamic Republic will never agree to a deal that results in a Trump win. The mullahs read the polls and see the domestic political pressure to end the war. It's part of their strategy. We should stop chasing a bad deal. This does not mean that we should resume unlimited airstrikes, but rather targeted decapitation strikes against their leadership, as the Israelis used effectively. If Iranian leaders won't cut a deal, then let's get new ones. The real leverage we have against Iran is economic. We destroyed what Iran took decades to build. Their defense industrial base used to manufacture drones, missiles, and nuclear weapons. Inflation in Iran is running at 40%. The blockade collapsed the revenue stream used by the Revolutionary Guard Corps, their security services, and all the government infrastructure. If our blockade is allowed to continue and not stopped by Democrats and a few lame duck Republicans in Congress, we can eliminate the mullah's leverage over its people. We don't need regime change to pressure them into a better deal for us. Just perseverance. Intercepting what leaks out via Iran's shadow tanker fleet will speed the process. The best guess is this pressure will take 6 months to show results, right around the time of the elections. I'm Ben Strusand, and that's my view.
Ben Strusand, only on AM 700 KSEV.
The best in financial talk and more. Money Matters, every Monday through Thursday from 11 a.m. till noon here on AM 700 KSEV and streaming online at ksevradio.com.
Good evening and welcome to the second hour of ChrisXradio. I'm the aforementioned X-Man. Glad to have you here with us as we roll our way through your Taco Tuesday edition of the program. If you want to join us this afternoon, 281-558-KSEV, 281-558-5738. I do believe we're actually full into evening at this point. I think after 5 p.m. it's considered evening by most people. I think we've moved on from the afternoons. But nonetheless, glad to have you here with us. Got a lot going on. I want to thank Andy Kahn for joining us in the first hour. He's with Crime Stoppers of Houston. Make sure you support that wonderful organization. They do a lot to try to keep bad people off the street. And unfortunately, as Andy pointed out on a previous show, they occasionally have to pay people turning in people for the second or third time they've already paid because they keep getting let out. I think that should be one of the requirements. If you turn somebody into Crime Stoppers pays out a reward. That person should not be allowed back out on the streets. But that's just me. Anyway, you've reached the second hour of the program. We got a lot to get into. I'm going to try to roll through some of this stuff here now as we're rocking in the second hour. The Iranian president says that the country is now in full-scale war with the United States of America. So we'll get into that. Also, when we get time, the top media networks were put on notice after refusing to air Trump's primetime address this week. We'll get into that with Representative Buddy Carter out of Georgia asking the FCC to review all of ABC, NBC, CBS broadcast after their networks either declined to air or cut away from President Trump's July 16th presidential address. It's funny how that works, huh? They consider him an illegitimate president. Why? Because they hate him. They hate his politics. It doesn't matter. Good, bad, it doesn't matter. They're part of the woke left propaganda outlet. So we'll get into that. You got Talarico, who tried to pander to black voters it was day before yesterday. And one of the black voters he was trying to pander to was having none of it. I'm sure you've heard the audio by now, so I don't need to play it for you. But basically, she just hammered him. You coming out here, you want our vote, acting like a phony. He's like, well, thank you for coming out, and I appreciate you coming out. I didn't come for you. I came for my people. So we can get into that as well. Tropical Storm Bertha has formed in the Gulf yesterday evening, which it looks like it's slowly going to push into Louisiana. That's where it will most likely make landfall late tomorrow evening, and then eventually it's going to work. They say it's going to work its way west. Usually they don't do that. Usually when they hit the coast, they tend to head up north, but this one they're saying is going to come west, but it's going to be a non-event for us. We may get some showers, but not much, if anything at all, because I think it's going to head back out over the Gulf because of these high-pressure system, which is making things exceptionally hot in our area. It was 99 degrees earlier. Let me go look and see what it is in our area now. Looks like it's still 99 in my area, so very hot. Tomorrow is going to be over 100, and then Thursday will probably be around the same. The heat index is expected to be around 108, could be even higher. So it could be up. There's some that are saying it could be, temperatures are peaking in the extreme heat for tomorrow around 105. In some areas up to 115 heat index. So it's going to be very, very hot for the next couple of days. We could actually use probably some more of that little bit of rain to cool things off a little bit, but doesn't look like we're going to get much, if any. And then, of course, the temperature is going to be around 104 degrees. They always talk about the grid. That's been a big issue since 2021 with that ice storm. Well, this is the time of year when the grid really gets pushed with everybody running electricity and their ACs. They're saying this will break the record demand for the grid, which people are like, oh, no, that's scary. Well, they also say the grid has plenty of capacity and should be able to handle it easy. In fact, I'm going to go look at the grid right now. I always like to go check it out whenever we start getting this time of year. This is the time of year when Texans tend to use more electricity. So if you want to go check it out, you can always go to ERCOT.com, go check out the grid, the supply and demand. I'm looking at today. Now we're good. Today, in fact, it's not even really close. And then we're good today. And then tomorrow, still, it looks like the demand forecast is for 84,203 megawatts, but the capacity is at 98,000. So we're going to be good for tomorrow. And then, let's see, Thursday. The demand forecasted is 71,681 megawatts. So it looks like the demand will be a little bit less than tomorrow. But what's amazing is the capacity is at 102,935. So basically 103,000 megawatts. That's a good sign. Looks like smooth sailing from what I'm looking at the grid monitoring deal. So you can do that over at ERCOT.com. So it looks like we're okay on the grid because of some of the upgrades they did and made to where we can have access to more capacity. And they said we're going to need to continue to do that with all the crazy people moving to Texas, all of these out-of-towners. They all came here. We don't want their politics. Leave your politics at home. Don't be bringing them to Texas. So you got that. But so it looks like we got, like I said, the first tropical. Is that the first tropical? I think it's the first, no, the second. Maybe we already had another. Well, it's Bertha. I guess it is the second one. I don't know what the other one was. But so it's the second tropical storm in the Gulf of America, okay? It's a far better Gulf now that it's the Gulf of America, okay? Probably the greatest Gulf of all Gulfs in the Americas. Which is so funny because for years it was the Gulf of Mexico. But if you look at it, it's all, like I said, this is the Americas actually, including that part of the world. So it's now the Gulf of America. So the Gulf is now racist, according to lefties. President Trump has imposed a 50% duty on a variety of Canadian goods. This includes Canadian alcohol, dairy products, hockey sticks, and more. If we get time, we can go into that as well. So let's kick off things here in the second hour. Once again, if you want to join us, 281-558-KSEV is the number. The country of Iran says they're in full-scale war with the U.S. now. This is Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Pezeshkian, who is the subordinate to the missing Supreme Leader, Supreme Leader Mojtaba Khomeini. It's hard to keep up because there have been like 4 generations in line that have been eliminated in this operation. Declared remarks on Monday that his country is in full-scale war with the U.S. following the disintegration of the Memorandum of Understanding towards peace. That's the MOUSE. Pezeshkian, according to the Iranian state media, made the comments while visiting Iran's Supreme Judicial Council, one of the most powerful courts in the country. His declaration of war against the U.S., which he couched as being part of a multi-front effort including economic sanctions and diplomacy. What sort of economic sanctions are we getting from Iran? They're just going to try to block the Strait of Hormuz. Arrives as the Iranian Foreign Ministry insists that it is discussing future peace deals or a future peace deal with unspecified mediators, while U.S. CENTCOM reported another round of strikes against the Iranian military assets on Monday night. Iran and the U.S. have been in a state of informal war since February when President Trump launched Operation Epic Fury. Everybody thought, they were hoping it would be very quickly. Those of us who understand the situation in that area, things don't tend to go as quickly as you would like. But Operation Epic Fury started with the elimination of Iran's Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei. Trump announced a ceasefire in April that yielded the drafting and signing of that Memorandum of Understanding back in June, which prescribed a 60-day negotiation period to establish a sturdier peace deal. Instead, the Iranian regime organized funeral events for the elder Khomeini to coincide with the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence on July 4th, to where there was angry mobs demanding Trump's killing, the murder of President Trump, and then it began to engage in the military assaults against commercial ships in the Strait of Hormuz. That's really the only feather in their quill, if you will. They're going to keep firing, including today. Some other unknown explosive was launched at a ship in the Strait of Hormuz today, and that, of course, is disrupting the oil supply in the world, and that, of course, causes oil prices to go up, which we've seen gas prices jumped above $4 a gallon in, 22 states. So the U.S. needs to try to get this figured out. They've also, the Iranian military has been targeting not only the ships in the Strait of Hormuz, but also targeting American assets in Kuwait, Bahrain, and Jordan According to the state-run Islamic Republic news agency, Pezeshkian used his time with the senior judiciary to declare that Iran is engaged in full-scale war that extends beyond missile strikes. He claimed, however, that the economy and public livelihood is the most important battlefront, not the military engagements. He said the country's enemies have concluded that military attacks alone cannot force Iran into submission and are now targeting the economy and daily life instead. Pezeshkian warned that if economic pressure fuels public discontent, it could erode the social support the government has built among Iranians. Do you think the government of Iran has built a lot of social support? You do what we say or we will kill you. That's basically how they operate. That is their plan, not only dealing with foreign adversaries, dealing with their allies, and dealing with their people. You do what we say or we will kill you. Death to America. No, I'm not. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. We don't want death to America, but yes, death to America. Death to the great Satan, and also death to little tiny Satan. We hate little tiny Satan. That is Israel. Death to Israel. It needs to be wiped off the map for sure. I don't know if he actually speaks in that accent, but it made the story a lot more fun. And someone's going to accuse me of being racist now. It's funny, I don't say I'm racist when I imitate President Trump. That's weird. I guess because he's a white supremacist, if you're imitating Trump, it's not racist. But it is racist if you're imitating Iran. Wait, they're our adversary. I'm pretty sure the guy, the leader of Iran, the president, probably has some kind of an accent. I'm not necessarily making fun of his accent. I'm just making fun of the way they operate. Death to everyone that doesn't do what we say. It's insanity. All right, 281-558-KSEV if you want to join us. We're now in hour number 2 of Taco Tuesday. Once again, them tacos sounding good. Actually, I'm just getting hungry in general. It's dinner time, I guess. I could go for a burger. I could go for some fried chicken. Okay, hot take. I don't know how hot it is. When it comes to fried chicken, my go-to is Kentucky Fried Chicken. It has gotten a whole lot more expensive. It's not cheap like it used to be. So I don't go there as often, but I love Kentucky Fried Chicken, and I don't like the extra crispy. It's okay. But no, the original recipe, I don't know what sort of magic or voodoo the Colonel had, but whatever he did, I love that chicken. It's so good. And I don't eat it that often. And whenever I eat other fried chicken, I'm waiting for that, that Kentucky Fried Chicken, those whatever spices they use, and it's not there, and I'm always a little disappointed. I'm a little sad, and small, tiny part of me dies inside. And I'm going, if I just was willing to spend $40 for the 12-piece bucket, I guess I could just go get one of their little regular meals. Those are only like $12 or $15. That's cheaper. But the buckets of chicken used to be cheap. They're not cheap anymore. So I don't go to KFC as often as I used to. Probably, you know what, probably a good thing. I don't really necessarily need all that grease. I don't know. Hey, you guys big KFC fans? I can go for a burger just about any time, go for some KFC anytime, even on Taco Tuesday, which you could be 2 for Tuesday. Do they have a 2 for Tuesday at KFC? If they do, I'm down. Then again, I've had the from Popeyes, the chicken sandwich, the chicken sandwich. Oh, man, it's pretty good. Their chicken sandwich is probably better. I don't know if I've had a chicken sandwich from KFC, but their chicken sandwiches rival Chick-fil-A, which is in a whole nother category, a whole nother league of its own. And it's hard for me to get the chicken sandwich because the chicken strips are so good and their nuggets are delicious. Okay, enough food talk. All right, let's take a break because we're already over. We'll come back and talk about the primetime address President Trump last night that certain networks decided they just didn't want to carry. They've already determined that the president is lying, even though he presented the evidence at whitehouse.gov. And actual reporters went and looked at it and went, yeah, this is legit. What a concept, huh? But ABC and NBC and others decided, no, we don't want to talk about that. Why? Because we don't want to legitimize what Donald Trump has said. Our goal is to delegitimize him at every opportunity. It's almost as though they're leftist propaganda. Oh, wait, they are. 281-558-KSEV. You're listening to Chris X Radio. Hour number 2 is underway. We'll be right back.
KSEV, 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 KSEV.
Thank goodness our weather experts are providing us with hurricane tracking charts and reminding us to be prepared for big storms. But they overlook one very important thing, the damage and destruction from broken limbs and uprooted trees. Call Louis Flory at Ability Tree Experts today, my friend for nearly 40 years, at 281-441-4179, and let him explain how this problem can be minimized with professional pruning. You see, when the tree canopy is too thick and dense, the tree can be completely blown over and tree limbs broken, causing terrible damage to the tree and maybe your home. Where tree limbs break, sap will ooze, and that attracts harmful insects. So you need to call Louis Flory today at 281-441-4179 and have his experts come out and professionally prune your trees to withstand sudden storms that are so frequent this time of year. Visit their website at abilitytrees.com. That's 281-441-4179. Ability Tree Experts, Houston's leading tree care professional.
Plumbing emergencies never happen at a convenient time. Nix Plumbing offers free estimates and free second opinions. Call Nix Plumbing and Sewer Services, 713-868-9907, or visit us on the web, nixplumbing.com.
MPL 38548.
If you're looking to buy or sell a home and in need of the best realtors out there, look no further than the Ronnie and Kathy Matthews Group. They've instilled in each and every member of their team hard work and honest values, and believe me, it's paid off. They truly know the Houston market and what it takes to get a home sold quickly and at top dollar, and how to get the best deal possible for your home purchase. They're employee-owned. They care about their clients, so they always go the extra mile to ensure each sale and purchase is seamless and smooth. The Ronnie and Kathy Matthews Group have been a top-producing real estate team for over 2 decades. Call Ronnie and Kathy Matthews Group at 281-440-7900 or see for yourself and go online at thematthewsteam.com. That's thematthewsteam.com. They sell over 1,000 homes a year, and they know every inch of the buying and selling market in Houston. Call Ronnie and Kathy Matthews Group. I chose them as my realtor. The Ronnie and Kathy Matthews Group, your realtors for life. 281-440-7900 or see for yourself online at thematthewsteam.com. That's thematthewsteam.com.
That's the Ronnie and Kathy Matthews Group, brokered by EXP.
Finding a reputable business shouldn't require luck or chance. But how can you tell who you can trust? Always look for the sign of a better business and find a better business anytime at bbb.org.
Hi, this is Michael Miller. Join me this weekend for the Backyard Bay radio program, now at our new time, Saturday mornings at 9 a.m., right here on AM 700 KSEV, The Voice.
Last Thursday, the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, took to the podium. In a national address, he notified the country that Communist China had undertaken unprecedented steps to rig America's elections. But that wasn't all. He also revealed evidence that showed Communist China had allies in the United States of America, in the so-called deep state, the so-called intelligence community, aiding Communist China in their efforts. We talked to a former FBI agent on the Chris Salcedo Show. See you at 7 after the press box on the Voice of Texas.
I was just listening to Chris Salcedo's promo. It ties in with our next segment. Welcome back to Chris Radio. I'm the aforementioned X-Man. If you want to join us here on the program, 281-558-KSEV, 281-558-5738. I know by the way, we're getting into the dog days of summer. A lot of people on vacation, so a lot of people are going and taking some time off. I may take a day off or two next week. I generally don't take a lot of vacation this time of year because I don't have kids that are out of school or that sort of stuff. I always take them out at the end of the year when things are really slow. But if things seem a little quiet, that has a lot to do with it. This is the vacation time of year. I'm looking at people's pictures on social media. Boy, people are taking their vacations. Absolutely. And then again, if I do take a vacation and go somewhere, I tend to need a lot of sunscreen if I'm going to be outside. Which, by the way, I plan to run up to the Hill Country on a Friday of this week. My feeders, I know it's out. I think I need to replace the batteries in that. And then my game cam. It's funny because for years I didn't have a game cam up there. And then once you install it and you kind of see things coming and going from the feeder, I want to keep my feeder, filled with corn because it's not that expensive. And then, of course, definitely the batteries you got to have going in your cam so you can see what comes and goes. And you get to see all kinds of things, hogs, raccoons, get to see the occasional red stag. Those are incredible. It was amazing. I saw a picture. I still have the camera's low, but it's still working. And I got a picture. I was like, man, that's a very dark-looking deer that was going by my feeder. And then as I zoomed in on the picture, it was a baby red stag. The baby red stags are the size of large whitetails because the red stags, they're massive. They're 600, 700, 800 pounds, especially the males. This looked like a female, but it was probably a yearling, and they're as big, if not bigger, than the average whitetail out there. And like I said, we didn't have those when we were kids. They weren't there. They apparently had escaped from one of those wild games, those exotic game ranches, and then have flourished in the wild. But these are massive deer. They look like elk. They're huge. So it's interesting, too, because you often see them around February and then this time of year. It's interesting. Anyway, okay, so I wanted to talk about the top media networks that have now been put on notice. Representative Buddy Carter out of Georgia is asking the Federal Communications Commission to review ABC, NBC, and CBS broadcast decisions after the networks either declined to air live or cut away from President Trump's July 16th primetime address. In a letter obtained by Fox News Digital sent on Monday, Carter asked the FCC Chair Brendan Carr to review whether the networks violated their obligation to serve the public interest and whether their actions should be considered in future broadcast license proceedings. Oopsies. Quote, the public airwaves should inform the American people, not be used by corporate executives to decide which matters of national importance they are permitted to hear, Carter wrote. Carter raised serious concerns in the letter, saying that the networks can disagree with President Trump's remarks while still airing what he says. Broadcasters may criticize, analyze, or fact-check the president's statements, he wrote. However, refusing to air a major presidential address because executives disagree with its content raises serious concerns that they intend to keep the American people in the dark about potential foreign interference in our elections. Carter also argued that Americans should have been allowed to make up their own minds. Regardless of political affiliation, the American people deserve to hear this information directly from the president and judge it for themselves. Instead, ABC and NBC declined to broadcast the speech on their television networks, while CBS cut away before the president completed his remarks. And as I said earlier in the program, I don't know why anyone would say that they're anything more than leftist propaganda. If you will remember, after the 2020 election, they were all in on telling us it was the most fair and honest election of our lifetimes ever in the history of our country. And now documentation has been provided to show that it wasn't. There was foreign meddling, not only by China, but Russia and other people tried to meddle in our election. But also our agencies weaponized things against the president and weren't informing him of what was taking place. They were hiding that information not only from the American people, but from the president himself in his daily presidential briefings. And while this was taking place, the media was saying this. They were just
2020 election, the most secure in American history.
Most secure election in American history.
The most secure in American history.
Most secure election in American history.
Most secure election in American history.
The most secure in American history.
It's almost like they're reading a script, huh?
History. The safest, the most secure election we've ever seen. Cleanest election, the safest election, the most secure election ever run.
Most secure election in American history.
The most secure election in American history.
The most secure in history.
What's the most secure election ever?
The most secure election in American history.
Let's just be clear, this is the most secure election in American history.
The most secure in U.S. history. This, in fact, was the most secure election yet. This was the most secure
election in history.
The most secure or the most secure election in American history.
The most secure election in history.
Most secure election in modern American history.
Most secure election in our history.
Safest and most secure election in our history.
Safest, most secure election we have ever had.
The most secure in American history.
The most secure election in American history.
Most secure election in American
history. Did the talking points go out?
Most secure election in American history.
The most secure election in American history.
The most secure election that we've had.
The safest, most secure elections in American history.
It was the most secure election in the history of the country.
The most secure in our history.
Most secure election of our lifetime.
The most secure election ever, the 2020 election.
The safest, most secure election in recent history.
Can you honestly tell me, in all the states, that no ballots from people that are already deceased were not filled out in Senate?
This was the most secure election in American history.
So it's funny because 4 years earlier, Russia colluded with Trump to steal the election. You guys remember that? The Trump collusion, and they got in, Robert Mueller. They brought him in. They spent millions of dollars trying to prove something that didn't happen, that wasn't true. I mean, maybe they were meddling, but they weren't meddling with Donald Trump. And Donald Trump was an illegitimate president because Hillary Clinton and Democrats told us repeatedly that Trump somehow stole the election over and over and over and over and over and over in their propaganda mouthpiece, the Democrat cult, the ABCs, NBCs, CBSs, CNNs, MSDNCs. They all just said over and over and over again, Russia meddled in the election. Hillary paid groups to try to pretend that somehow there was Russian meddling all over the place in 2016. But then in 2020, when they violated multiple state legislatures throughout multiple states in the country, collecting faulty mail-in ballots, running off poll watchers, claiming a pipe burst, Fulton County, Georgia, and then soon as everybody was run off, they pulled out ballots from underneath the tables and fed them through the machines and then gave those people awards for doing such a great job, and you weren't allowed to question it like Rudy Giuliani did. So then they, of course, went after him and destroyed him, tried to run him over it, and then put out the talking points. It's the most secure election in U.S. history, and now we know they were all lying. They were voluntarily lying. Why did they lie? Why would they lie? It's almost as though they're the propaganda apparatus of the Democrat cult, because that's what they are. They're all radical Democrats. They hate Donald Trump. They've considered him to be an illegitimate president and will never, ever admit what actually happened. Why not? Because they're vested. All that U.S. aid money, why do you think they're so upset they get cut off? Because it was being funneled through media outlets and public radio and lots of groups and things that got billions and billions and billions of your tax dollars to continue their leftist ways. It is amazing. And then now they're, oh my God, you can't do that. You can't stop all the fraud. As they told us, the Somalis are the greatest examples of Americans ever in Minnesota. There's no fraud. And then turns out over $9 billion in fraud has been discovered so far, and the Leering Center shut down, and then they split the country, and they split the country with hundreds of millions and billions of dollars. You remember just a couple of years ago when the Somalis that were leaving the country got found with literal suitcases full of cash and cash strapped around their waist and all that stuff, and nobody looked twice at it? You want to know why? Because they're nothing but leftist propaganda. They were all in on it. They were all on the take. And if you say one word, it all got thrown out in court. They were all thrown out on standing. Not a single judge would look at it. No judge wants to be responsible for determining the outcome of an election. So they threw it out on standing. If you don't know what on standing means, go away. Look it up. I'm not a legal expert, but I know what standing means. It means they wouldn't even look at it. And then they tried to ruin people like Sidney Powell, Rudy Giuliani, anyone who dared question it. You will be ruined. They came after me on this station. Oh, yeah, I wasn't their only target. All right, let's take a short break. 281-558-KSEV, 281-558-5738. You're listening to ChrisX Radio. We'll come back. We got, 2 segments remaining. So if you want to get in, you better hurry. Oh, man, these hot summer evenings are going fast. It has cooled down a little bit. It was really hot. It was 99 degrees earlier, but now it's kind of a cold front. It's dropped down to 97. So I may have to put on a sweater. It's getting a little chilly out there. All right, you're listening to ChrisX Radio, 281-558-5738. We'll be right back.
KSEV, 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 KSEV.
If you have roof problems, you can sure see them when it rains. This is Deb Tejada from Tejas Roofing. If you see a leak, call me immediately, 281-251-0304. I'll send over the Tejas Roof Repair truck.
That truck has everything our experienced crew needs to fix your roof, right then and there.
The Tejas Roofing crew has been working together fixing leaky roofs for 15 years.
It's not a pretty truck, but it has everything we need to get the job done. I kind of like the way it looks.
Most roofing repairs cost less than $500. Why? Because we find the cause of the leak and repair that leak. We won't try to sell you services you don't need.
And we'll fix it right away because everything we need is in our truck.
Don't put off fixing a leaky roof. Call me at Tejas Roofing and I'll send over the truck. 281-251-0304. When you think of roofing repairs or a new roof, think Tejas Roofing, your Houston roofing company. 281-251-0304. That's Tejas Roofing, 281-251-0304.
If you're buying a new house, get it inspected while the builder is there to help. If you're buying a resale house, for sure get it inspected. Contact Edward Robinson at Professional Engineering. His website is proFengineering.com or call today, 713-664-1264, Professional Engineering.
Be a Planner show host Nathan Ross wants to remind you, please consider all the syndication terms of your private real estate partnership. By understanding the syndication math, Nathan can help you assess the benefits of ownership. Visit beaplanner.com or tune in each Sunday at 7 a.m. for the Be a Planner Show with Nathan Ross, CPA, on KSEV.
Hi, y'all. It's Kathy from Baker Mortgage. You know, with all the scary stuff we've been through, it's still true that timing is everything, and the time to buy is now. But don't go looking without a solid pre-approval in hand. And this includes an application and a detailed discussion about property taxes. If you didn't have the talk, about property taxes, you really don't know what you're pre-approved for. That should make you wonder what else they may have left out. Mortgages are personal. Let's face it, we're dealing with your home and your money, and it doesn't get much more personal than that. When it's the largest transaction that most people will ever be involved in, imagine having someone on your side looking out after you. What a concept. We audit your closing statement to make sure you're not paying for things that you're not supposed to. Do you think your big bank's going to do that? Probably not. For all of your mortgage needs, call us at Baker Mortgage. I promise you'll be glad you did. We're at 281-313-MOVE or go directly to bakermortgage.com.
Equal housing lender. License number 263213.
Hi, I'm Tommy Mello with Garage Door Doctors. My mom recently moved into a new home with a builder-grade garage door. Noisy, flimsy, and not built to last, so we're fixing that. Mom, you're my hero. When I was growing up, she worked 3 jobs just to save our house.
And helped you build this company.
Now I'm giving her a beautiful new garage door that's built to last. The garage is 40% of your home's curb appeal. When it looks good and it works great.
Life is good. Thanks, Tommy.
From repairs to upgrades, call Garage Door Doctor today.
ChrisX here to tell you about Humble Amco transmission and AC specialists. People who know go to Amco. I personally trust Jay Streckfus and Humble Amco with all of my vehicle's needs. With complete car care, they'll take care of all of your auto needs as well. Always a free check engine light inspection, and tell them that ChrisX sent you for a free engine scan. Call Jay today at 281-446-0862. That's 281-446-0862 or online at humbleamco.com. KSEV, 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 KSEV. Welcome back to ChrisX Radio. I'm the aforementioned X-Man. We're making our way through the second hour of the program. We're almost at it. Well, we got this segment, one remaining. So if you want to get in, you better hurry. 281-558-KSEV, 281-558-5738. All right, as we're getting ever so close to the midterm elections coming up here in November. Because look at it, we're almost through. We're at the 21st of September. July. And then we got August, September, October, and then the elections. So we got 3 months. 3 months and about a week now, I guess. So we're getting really close. So the candidates are out campaigning. But I like candidating because that's what James Talarico seems to be doing. He had a People of Color summit on Sunday. What? This very weird. Once again, Democrats are amazing. You can put a lily white guy like James Talarico and just try to pass him off with people of color saying he's for them. And he's for the trans people. And he's for a lot of things, but he doesn't seem to be for Texans. He has to run against everything he's said for and voted for the last how many years at the Texas House? By the way, I want to mention the young actress Kaylee Hoddle. She was 18 years old. She was the deaf actress that was in the Godzilla vs. Kong movie, and then she was in another one. She got killed in a car accident, which is terrible. She's a very young lady. So that's very sad. But anyway, I was going to mention that earlier in the program. Just saw it flash on the news. So that's very sad. As Hollywood dies a slow death. I guess the new Odyssey movie's out. Some people have gone and seen it. It's getting panned pretty hard, but it's still making decent money from what I can tell. Anyway, I bet James Talarico probably will go see it. I'm just saying. Anyway, Talarico, of course, he said his neighbors with a uterus. That's how he refers to women. Not the trans women. Those are the best of the best. I guess he forgot that there were black people in Texas as well. And black voters and black activists are letting him know that. So he launched one of the phoniest and most embarrassing pander campaigns since Hillary Clinton declared she ain't no ways tired. You remember that? I ain't no ways tired. She developed kind of like what AOC did this week. Head to the South and develop a Southern accent, thinking that Southern people are too stupid to realize they're doing that. I find it very patronizing. Then again, if you're voting for a Democrat, maybe you are that stupid. Talarico's problems began with the favorable treatment he received from the Democrat establishment over his primary opponent, Representative Jasmine Crockett. Most notable example was when CBS's former host of the Stephen Colbert show was hyping Talarico's February appearance on it was canceled, the show, The Late Show. That's right. It was Late Show with Stephen Colbert. When it quit being about being funny and then it became just all political activism, CBS and Colbert were so eager to snub Jasmine Crockett to avoid the FCC's equal time rule that they would have required Colbert to actually have to have Jasmine Crockett on his show as well, that the Talarico interview wasn't even aired on CBS, but eventually posted on YouTube. This drew more attention to Talarico. Since beating Crockett in March by a mere 6 points, Crockett has not been shy about snubbing Talarico and claims that he snubbed her first with these half-hearted attempts to make her part of his campaign. In the months since, she has not campaigned for him, and her lack of support is glaring and potentially deadly for a Democrat here in Texas. She dominated the predominantly black districts by 50 and 60 points. It wasn't even close. And then earlier this month, State Representative Jolanda Jones, right here out of Texas or Houston area, revealed that Talarico's campaign is giving out money to white GoTV organizations and white infrastructure and Hispanic infrastructure, but it's not giving it to the black infrastructure. Before we get to Talarico's desperate pandering, the question is, how could the famously heterosexual Talarico allow things to get this far? I love how they always refer to him as famously heterosexual. Is he out of touch? How out of touch is he to allow this to happen? Despite having all the establishment advantages, Crockett nearly beat him and stomped all over him in the black districts, but Talarico is a pasty-faced little phony. And definitely not gay, though. But he looks about as comfortable in a cowboy hat and jeans as Barack Obama did throwing a baseball. And if he wants to win, he's going to need the black vote here in Texas. Instead, his campaign has allowed the impression to rise that he's not just snubbing Crockett, but black voters in general as well. Is he on crack? No, I don't think so. So how's the pandering working out? Well, Talarico's a ridiculous person. He's a false prophet. He's a blasphemer. He's a guy who apparently took the black vote for granted, figured just because he's a Democrat, he's going to get it. And that may not be the case, not only with Republicans finally seeking their vote, thanks to Donald Trump, who got a large amount of black voters, to non-white voters, this unforced error makes Talarico look pretty much incompetent, which could be the death knell for a campaign for a Democrat here in Texas. We'll see how he's able to work his way to ingratiate himself in the black community, because he has not done well. And he is the epitome of a privileged white boy who runs around talking about how he fanboys over trans hosts and just loves it. His only hope is that Ken Paxton doesn't do well. But you got to remember, they said Ken Paxton wasn't going to do well against John Cornyn, who does far better with moderates, and Cornyn got obliterated by, was it 28 points? So it'll be interesting. All right, let's go ahead and take a break. We'll come back. It looks like we've got David in Spring, and then Jimmy X to the second power. You're listening to ChrisX Radio. We got one segment remaining. We'll come back, take a couple of your phone calls, and then wrap things up here, and then gear up for Hump Day, which is tomorrow, which is one day closer to the weekend because we do our Friday show on Thursday. We make the amigos work on Fridays so I can go play up in the hill country. I wish that were actually the case. All right, you're listening to ChrisX Radio, 281-558 KSEV. We'll be right back.
KSEV, 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 KSEV.
When it comes to garage doors, no one knows more than the doctor. Garage Door Doctor.
We got a call late New Year's Eve. A father with big plans for his family the next day said his garage door spring just snapped. He couldn't get his car out and wouldn't be able to get his family to where they needed to go. He felt stuck and alone. So we showed up fast with the right spring and the right parts to fix it right. We didn't talk about the price. We didn't wait till the morning. We fixed it right then. Because at Garage Door Doctor, it's never just about the job. It's about the person behind it. The dad, the veteran, the grandpa, the neighbor. Hi, I'm Tommy Mello, owner of Garage Door Doctor. When you need help, we're the ones that show up. Call Garage Door Doctor today or schedule online at garagedoordoctor.biz. We fix garage doors fast with quality parts designed to last a lifetime because we're proud to serve the people who rely on us.
When it comes to garage doors, no one knows more than the doctor. Garage Door Doctor.
If you have roof problems, you can sure see them when it rains. This is Deb Tejada from Tejas Roofing. If you see a leak, call me immediately, 281-251-0304. I'll send over the Tejas Roof Repair truck.
That truck has everything our experienced crew needs to fix your roof, right then and there.
The Tejas Roofing crew has been working together fixing leaky roofs for 15 years.
It's not a pretty truck, but it has everything we need to get the job done. I kind of like the way it looks.
Most roofing repairs cost less than $500. Why? Because we find the cause of the leak and repair that leak. We won't try to sell you services you don't need.
And we'll fix it right away because everything we need is in our truck.
Don't put off fixing a leaky roof. Call me at Tejas Roofing and I'll send over the truck. 281-251-0304. When you think of roofing repairs or a new roof, think Tejas Roofing, your Houston roofing company. 281-251-0304. That's Tejas Roofing, 281-251-0304.
If you're looking to buy or sell a home and in need of the best realtors out there, look no further than the Ronnie and Kathy Matthews Group. They've instilled in each and every member of their team hard work and honest values, and believe me, it's paid off. They truly know the Houston market and what it takes to get a home sold quickly and at top dollar and how to get the best deal possible for your home purchase. They're employee-owned. They care about their clients, so they always go the extra mile to ensure each sale and purchase is seamless and smooth. The Ronnie and Kathy Matthews Group have been a top producing real estate team for over 2 decades. Call Ronnie and Kathy Matthews Group at 281-440-7900 or see for yourself and go online at thematthewsteam.com. That's thematthewsteam.com. They sell over 1,000 homes a year and they know every inch of the buying and selling market in Houston. Call Ronnie and Kathy Matthews Group. I chose them as my realtor. The Ronnie and Kathy Matthews Group, your realtors for life. 281-440-7900 or see for yourself online at thematthewsteam.com. That's thematthewsteam.com.
That's the Ronnie and Kathy Matthews Group, brokered by EXP.
KSEV, 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 KSEV.
This is a good walk-up song. And as we end up the wrap up today's show. All right, welcome back to ChrisX Radio. You reached the final segment of the program. We're going to wrap things up, and then we'll be back tomorrow for your Hump Day edition of the program. So make sure you schedule that appointment. And then, of course, we do our Friday show on Thursday, and then we turn things over to the Amigos. I already know you guys make an appointment to listen to the Amigos every Friday from 4 to 6. And it allows us to kick off the weekend 24 hours ahead of everybody else, so that's always cool. All right, let's go to the phones here. We've got a couple of callers here to wrap things up. Let's go to Jimmy X to the second power, who's been patiently holding. Jimmy, thank you for hanging on. Welcome to ChrisX Radio.
My brother from another mother. I heard they play that funky music, and I just need your help with some lyrics. Once there was a DJ, he hosted talk radio. Always spoke for freedom and would gladly let you know. He saw the commies coming and sounded the alarm. All the words they jumped and shouted, "Come on, anti-commie boy."
All right, I'll take that. I'll take the anti-commie boy. And hey, that's a pretty good version you did there, Jimmy X, to the second power. I didn't realize you could sing so well.
Well, I wouldn't call it singing, but I wail with the cows.
Well, nice job. Very, very impressive. I'll have to go back to the podcast
But
and
I
write
just
those
need
lyrics
your
down.
help because I think that would be a good satire song, man.
Yeah, it's true. I guess if I get back in the business of doing satires, I can do one of those. That actually requires effort, though, to sit down and sing and do that. And I haven't done a lot of singing lately, so I'll have to put my singing hat on and get to it.
But I just want you to know I appreciate you. And when that came on, I was like, we've, on a serious note, that was a funny way of saying that everybody needs to wake up. This is for real, and they're coming for us and everything we stand for. And if you sit on your butt and you don't go vote and you don't motivate everybody to go vote, we're going to be looking at the taillights of freedom disappearing over the horizon.
Man, you're right. Thank you for the call, Jimmy. Good to hear from you. And I appreciate the little parody there. And also, you're dead on. If we decide to sit on our hands and get stupid and get lazy and not understand that these radicals never stop and they've only gotten more radical, with the rest of the country is going to start looking like New York or these Democrat-run hellholes such as Harris County and other places where the Democrats are in charge and they keep electing further radical people that want to abolish jails. Yeah. That's right. James Talarico is one of those abolished prisons. He's one of those guys. Yeah, I don't think we can have that. That would be really bad for anywhere that is taking place. All right, let's go out to Spring, pick up with David before we run out of time. David, thanks for hanging on. Welcome to ChrisX Radio.
Thanks, Chris, for taking my call. Yeah, it's a tough decision between Talarico and Pedo Lovin' Paxton. I mean, it's they both got stuff against them, and I'm really torn.
So you don't think the most successful attorney general in the history of the country, the state of Texas, is a better choice than a guy who loves trans children and fanboys over trans podcast hosts?
The most successful at filing frivolous lawsuits and the most successful at acquiring real estate. Man, he's got a lot of homes. How do you get 15 homes on the government salary?
I don't know. I didn't know that he owned 15 homes. Sounds like your mind's already made up.
That's what's reported
Doesn't sound like
in the fake news, I guess.
David, it doesn't sound like you're actually struggling with this decision at all. Sounds like you're all in for the trans boy.
Well, that's kind of a derogatory term, considering there's a lot of gay people and probably trans in the Republican Party. I mean, we know that Grindr has a really high percentage of. Go ahead.
Is your God non-binary as well?
Is my God non-binary? I mean, God is God, right? I mean,
well,
I don't
let me
think
ask you
he's
this: how many sexes are there, David? David, how many sexes are there?
Yeah, well, there's male and female, but what do you say to the people that are born with two sexes? Do you say you have to choose one? You have to chop off something and make a decision right then and there? What are people that were? I mean, biology is complicated. I mean, it's
actually not complicated
why do you try
at all.
to break everything down to a black and white issue like that?
It is actually black and white. People that are born gender dysmorphia is one thing, is a real thing, but also there are people that are born with two sets of organs, but they're primarily female or male. There is no such thing as a female-male together, and they don't get to choose. That was chosen for them, and then they can determine which direction they want to go in. So once again, how many sexes are there?
You know, that's you just admitted that people can have more than one sexual organ.
No,
I mean, this
their
happens,
DNA,
right?
they
There's
are
biological
primarily
stuff that happens, and you're telling people they have to choose. So,
no, David,
I mean,
I'm telling you,
that's kind of.
I'm using something you're unfamiliar with. It's called science. People that are born with dual sexual organs do not mean they're male or female. Their genetics, if you go back and look at their DNA, are primarily either female or male. They're one or the other. There is no in between. So they can choose to live, because we live in a free country, to be whatever they want. But the reality is they're either genetically male or genetically female. What are the other sexes that you're trying to tell me about here?
Hey, no, I'm not an expert on that, all right? But I'm just saying that's kind of like people's personal business, right? Like, I don't care. Like, I don't want to investigate people's underwear to determine if they can go in a restroom or not. I mean, if they look like a female, they can go in the female restroom. If they look like a male, I would think that they would go in the male restroom. But
well, who's
going to be investigating people's underpants before they go to the restroom? Do
like
the
James
Republicans
Talarico.
want to do that? Are we going to have underwear
people like James
inspection,
Talarico.
when people go to the restroom?
People like James Talarico want to allow dudes to go into a women's restroom whether they look like a dude or not.
I'm not sure that's the case. I mean, but who's going to enforce? Who enforces bathroom and underwear inspection?
You know what? I'll let you off easy. Thanks for the call, David. Your level of education in science is about the same as your level of education in politics. James Talarico was the one who said there were six sexes when there were only two, and now he's changed his opinion on that. He's the guy who fanboys over trans podcast hosts, says he loves the trans children. Do you think we should be transing children? Children who aren't old enough to drive or allowed to smoke, but we should give them life-altering body surgeries, changing their body to mimic that of the opposite sex and literally destroying their future? Because most of them, it doesn't make them happy. It doesn't help. In fact, they're still the sex they don't want to be. It's really sad. It's really dangerous. And it's really bad. I don't want those